G'day guys, and welcome back to the Monday Recovery, where we're going to wrap up the round that was, and we're going to talk about a few of the games coming up in the next week. Lads, how are we enjoying the footy frenzy at the moment? We've been stuck in front of the telly all weekend, or what? All week, I should
Yeah,
say.
for sure. Yeah, it's been busy, hasn't it? Every single day. Don't know what to do with myself but watch footy at the moment.
Yeah, it's been unreal, mate. Loving it. Just another game tonight. Just how quick the weeks are rolling around. I think that's the exciting part.
100%. And we'll talk about a few things today in our wrap up of last week. We won't touch too much on the round that was, but I think it started with, we're going to talk about Port Adelaide. I believe they played Thursday night against the D's.
Yeah.
Obviously, Port Adelaide coming off a bit of a shock loss to the Saints at home, went over to Brisbane and played the D's and had quite a convincing win. I think really showed. I don't know whether it was the D's having a bit of a lackluster game, but I think Port Adelaide was strong all round. And I mean, we're going to talk a bit about Miss Georgiades, but what did you guys think of Port's performance on Thursday night?
Yeah, well, a lot coming out of that game was talking about Melbourne being more poor than Port being good, and which I think that was only really half the narrative. I think it was both ways. I think Port bounced back from their loss against St Kilda last week, which would have shocked them a bit, having such a good season, to come out and pretty much have all those goals kicked against them in the final term. Really would have chipped away at their confidence. But I reckon they would have bounced back this week on a win, and they had all their pressure throughout the game, like forced Melbourne into some basic skills. Some on Melbourne's side weren't up to scratch exactly, as Sherman probably has some strong points on, being a Melbourne supporter himself. But yeah, I reckon Port's pressure definitely played a role. And like you said, Mitch Georgiades, what a star he is in the making, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree, mate. I thought Port were outstanding. One thing about Port this year, they haven't played two bad ones. They bounced back really strong. They definitely brought the heat. And I think at the moment, what we're finding with the D's and what's so frustrating being a fan at the moment and a member of the footy club is that, you know, you can take it up to a premiership contender the week before and get within a kick, and probably should have won the game late and had the opportunities to win, and then bring that out the next week. That's the disappointing part. And I think that's been Melbourne for quite a long time now. And I think that's the curb of reality that we need to change. I think that's what all fans want to see, is just the consistency across the board for 120 minutes every single game, week after week. And at the moment, we haven't delivered that for quite a long time. And it's now or never. We've got the squad that should be playing consistent finals footy. I mean, you look out 3 years ago, we made a prelim, and unfortunately, the team's has gone downhill from there. So something's got to change. I'm not a part of the culture. I don't know. I don't think it's a culture thing. I think at the moment it's just a concentration in games, and then when we get our head down, we just need leaders to stand up and not allow it to turn into a bit of a rot. So at the moment, it's something that needs to change down at Melbourne Footy Club.
Definitely.
Yeah, sure. I'm hearing a lot of cop and a lot of flack being thrown at Simon Goodwin at the moment. As a coach yourself, is there anything you think he's doing that's like wrong, that's standing out in a major way, or is it not really his fault and shouldn't be getting heaps of blame at the moment?
Oh, it's a tough one, mate, because he's had plenty of opportunity. I think he's 3 years ago, he takes us to a prelim, and or a couple of years ago, whatever it was, and since then we've just tapered off. So that's what I mean. Is that his coaching? Are the guys buying into it enough? Is something starting to get a bit stale there that something needs to be changed? I'm not sure. I don't have the magic potion. I don't have the the glass, but the magic glass. But I think at the moment you just need to get back to basics. And the back line for me has been outstanding. I think with May and Lever finally playing some footy together, I think we finally see that those guys can play good, consistent footy, and they're great players. And so our back line for me is strong. We've got a strong midfield. But again, where we let ourselves down is forward of the footy. I think, I've got Jackson and Wiedemann, but they're not. They're no Josh Kennedy and Jack Darling, are they? So they're going to take a lot of time to develop, especially against men and good defenders. And I think for me at the moment, forward to centre still needs plenty of work. And whether that comes back on Goody's shoulders, being a coach myself, unfortunately, when you're getting the losses made against your name, it's always going to come back to one bloke, which is the coach. So, 100%. Yeah, he's copping a bit of warranted heat at the moment. But again, I think as a team with the talent we've got, we should be performing a lot better and should be a consistent final side in my eyes.
Yeah, for sure. And lads, we're going to move over to we're going to run through this quickly today. Moving on to the next game, which was Carlton versus Hawthorn. Blues come out firing, kicked 5 in the first quarter to none. then it was all Hawthorn from there, really. I think they just shut them down.
Yeah.
It goes to show Clarko's still got it up there. And I think Hawthorn just did what they said they usually do pretty well, which is try take out the key components to a side and then attack on it. And they did. And I think it was good to see Warple going back in the middle with Mitchell, with both of them in there, like both trying to win contested ball rather than one just running on the outside, which was good to see. And I think Warple ended up racking over 20, which was really good to see for the first time. We called it last week on here. And, what did you guys think of Hawthorn's comeback?
Yeah, it was exciting. Like I'm a bit spewing because I know I lost quite a few multis and a slab or two on Carlton giving up that performance. So I was quite angry halfway through that game. But who would have thought? Everyone was pretty much tipping Carlton this week. I reckon not many would have picked Hawthorn with they've been copping a lot. Alistair Clarkson's in the hot seat for sure, but he, like you said, he responded in a big way. And Carlton are still going to be around. They've still got talent, but I don't know. They just had a brain fade and couldn't hit the scoreboard after those first 31 points to nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And lads, we're going to move into make or break sort of games for a few teams coming up this week. Obviously, next game is tonight, which is Port Adelaide versus the Doggies. Going to be quite a good one. Make or break games. First of all, we're going to talk about a couple of games that are going to be really good matchups rather than make or break. So tomorrow night, we've got Richmond versus Brisbane. Going to be a tight one. Brisbane obviously sitting, I think they're second, are they? I believe.
Yeah, second behind Port, yeah.
So they're behind Port. And, look, Richmond, obviously, after how they played on the weekend, looked pretty dangerous. And we've seen Brisbane can drop to the sides that are up and coming, like the D's a couple of weeks ago. And, I don't know what to make of this one. I think it's going to be a really good game. And, look, I'm leaning towards Brisbane, but I think the Tigers could cause quite an upset here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think at the moment, the Tigers have been outstanding. I mean, the last couple of weeks they've really shown just how far they bat down through depth. I think the depth of their list has been probably their greatest strength over the last 3 or 4 years, and I think we're finally starting to see some guys again come in that we haven't heard of and just play a role for the team. And they're the ultimate role playing team. I mean, you look at any guy that comes into that side, the expectations and what's expected, and they come and just fill the role, and they don't come and be a superstar. They just come and fill the role. And I think that's what Richmond's all about. That's what knowing a few guys down there, that's their philosophy. It's not about, Dusty Martin. It's just about the 22 that go out there every week and they play for each other. But in saying that, I think at the moment Brisbane, for me, is going to be one of the teams to beat this year. They're just outstanding all over the park. They don't, you take Lachie Neale out of it now, much of an outstanding year he's having individually, but I think it's all over the park. Harris Andrews, he's an outstanding defender, and you look down the other end, you've got, Rayner and Hipwood and all these exciting young talent. And then you look at a guy called Zach Bailey, who's come out of, what a year he's having as a young kid. So I think there's just so much to like about both sides, really. I'd like to sit on the fence, but I can't. But I think the Tigers will win in a very tight contest on the weekend.
Yeah, just touching on what you were saying, Sherm, with Richmond, like how they've had all those injuries and the blokes step up. I don't know about you guys personally, but I had very high doubts about Richmond coming out of that game with all the injuries, and I didn't think they were going to be able to respond or perform the way they have been. So they've surprised me quite a lot in the last few weeks. And like you said, it's those players that they don't come out and be superstars. They just play their role and do what needs to be done. And I think Richmond's game plan suits that a lot, where it's like it's a team surge offense mentality. Obviously, they got their star backline, but then they just all help each other take the ball. They don't need those superstars, and they just flood it into the forward line, get those quick, easy goals. And I reckon Hardwick's got a good system in place for these sort of situations to help their deep list just come through and help them win games. So it'll definitely be a great, cracking game. Obviously, I reckon Brisbane are in top form at the moment and just edge over the line, but because it's up there. But I reckon, it's going to be a great game, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then we've got Adelaide and the D's, which will be quite a good battle, both struggling a bit at the moment. Adelaide obviously haven't won a game, and D's came off a pretty big shocker. But then another must-win game is the Pies. They're playing Sydney, I believe, Macca, and geez, it's a bit worrying at Collingwood at the moment. Two pretty disappointing losses in a row. Obviously, they're going to have to beat Sydney to, I guess, make or break the season. But, yeah, I think they'll get the chocolates there. Now, we're going to talk about a few other things here. Or one more thing, sorry. Drop in and drop out. the ladder of the 8. Sorry. So, Macca, who's your drop in and who's your drop out for the top 8?
Yeah, we had a chat about this before, and looking at the top 8 at the moment, it's a lot of teams that you'd think would be in there at the moment, like that have solidified their spot, except for probably the Dogs. We're all in mutual agreement at that 8th spot. We're not too sure about them yet. They're a bit up and down. So if I see anyone dropping out of the 8 at the moment, it's probably the Doggies until they show me a bit more, because they're just on and off from week to week. And my drop go in is, at the moment, I've got to stick with Collingwood at the moment. Like, we're having a bad 2 weeks, but like you said, we got Sydney this week on a short break and then Adelaide. So they're 2 must-win games and honestly should be winning them. We should be the favourites. So if we can win those 2, get back on track, I reckon they still have the potential to make the 8. We were only talking about them being flag favourites 3 weeks ago. So yeah. I reckon for sure they can as easily jump back into the 8. That's for sure, even if it's in 7th, 8th spot.
Definitely, mate. And we'll quickly wrap it up here, lads. We've got about less than 2 minutes. But my drop in and drop out, I've got the Doggies to drop out of the 8. And I think I've got 2 sort of come back in. I've got the Bombers with a bit of a question mark. I know they haven't proved themselves, but I think they'll come back in. And I've got Hawthorn after their response to Carlton. I think they can really show that they can score quickly in shorter games, and I think they'll come back towards the end.
Rise up the ladder.
What about you, Sherman? Who have you got?
I think at the moment, I think the Dogs on form will have to drop out, but to come in, I think I'm going to go with the old haven't been there before attitude, and I just love the Gold Coast. So I'm hoping from an historic point of view for that footy club that they can play finals for the first time, and I'm going to urge them on. Hopefully they can do it, and I'll be a fan and get them there. But it'd be good to see the young talent play some finals footy just for their history in the footy club.
Thanks for that one, Reefy. Welcome to the show, mate.
And then got Reefy here, boys. So sorry about that one.
That's all right.
It would be great scenes if Gold Coast can make the finals. That's for sure. So we're hoping that happens. Yeah,
100%. Thank you all for joining us today, guys. We've enjoyed wrapping up the round and talking about some of the big